going on, everybody? It's been a while since I did a video, so I'm doing one. I got a message from, I believe it was Tango Trucker last week, asking for an update or news or something, so here we go. So the shaking that I was having in the truck, pretty much got that under control. What I had to end up doing was started off by replacing the passenger side steer tire. It was, I think I showed it to y'all, it was shot. So I replaced that. That didn't fix it. I ended up taking it to get an alignment done on it. They aligned the back axles and the front axles, and that seemed to help just a little bit, but man, it was still doing it pretty bad. Then I took it and had both of the front steer tires balanced, just to see if that would help, and it was still doing it. So then I took it and had the front driver's side steer tire replaced, because it was starting to get shot out, and had it balanced and everything, and it was still doing it. So then, after a bunch of research and stuff, I ended up taking my shocks off. I did this myself. Took my shocks off the front, shock absorbers off the front, tested them out. They were completely gone. They were trash. So I bought 2 new shock absorbers and I installed those myself, and that made the biggest difference out of anything. Now sometimes after I get unloaded, like say I'm loaded and I get unloaded, I'll still feel some shaking coming on, but it's from the back. And I don't feel it as much in my steering wheel anymore. It'll be like the back. So I took my shock absorbers off of the back and tested those out, and those are gone too. So my next step there is to replace all 4 shock absorbers on the back, and hopefully that will get that problem solved. Now on to some other issues. Took my truck to have it washed after I got all that squared away. Took my truck to have it washed and had an engine wash done, and after I left, the truck started to derate on me. The check engine light came on. I got a little digital readout on my screen and started saying engine warning, and man, I was freaking out. So I pulled off on an exit and stopped and pulled back off. It got to going again, and it didn't do it again. But over the next week or so, like those lights would go off, the engine warning readout would go off. But over the next week, maybe even 2 weeks, periodically it would come back on. Now I never had any more derate problem, but it would come on. So my guess is maybe a sensor got wet or something. It's probably getting to the point where I need to replace this, because I did a bunch of research when this was happening, because I was paranoid something bad was going on with the truck. So it looks like people are having to replace their map sensors every 100,000 miles or so on these trucks, and this one's got 418,000 on it, and it's still painted red. It's still Cummins red, so obviously it's never been replaced. That's the little sensor that goes down into the engine block and measures all kind of stuff, air pressure, all that kind of stuff, and it'll build up with the soot that's coming back in the engine from all that EGR and DPF crap. puts a lot of that soot back in your engine. So it'll build up with soot, and it won't read right anymore. And it'll cause your engine to derate and all kind of other stuff. There's also another sensor, I can't remember what it's called, but it's got two little holes in it, and you can take the top off, and it's got two like cylinder style holes, and that'll fill up with soot. And also I read that it can get water in it from rain or whatever, and that soot will harden in there, and it'll cause you a bunch of problems, cause your engine to derate, sluggish engine, all that kind of stuff, which I've still been having, that sluggish engine feeling. Like it's going and it's got the power, but it feels like it's just got crap in the engine. It's basically really the only way I can describe it. When it's idling, it just sounds like crap. So anyway, that may have been what got wet when I got the engine washed, and of course, like I was reading, that water mixes with the soot and it hardens and causes some problems. So maybe when it dried out, it broke up and went on about its business. I did have some problems one day, trying to remember what happened. I can't remember what happened, but I did something one day, and then like 5 miles down the road, it started showing that it needed to be regen. So I pulled it off on the side of the road and did a regen, and that went fine. It didn't seem like it idled high enough, but I mean, I guess it regen because the light went off and everything, and that hasn't come back on. And then I just went ahead, and I was scheduled for the month of June, towards the end of June, to have a PM done on the truck. And when June rolled around, I just went ahead and did it because it was running so crappy. I thought, just go ahead and change the oil, go ahead and change the fuel filter again, whether it needs it or not. Just do the full PM and see how it does. And it's run a lot better since I did that PM. But now what's bothering me is I have an ABS module problem. My ABS light will come on, my traction control light will come on, my check engine light is staying on, and of course my little digital readout on the bottom says ABS module. So obviously that needs to be replaced, because that'll come on, and then after riding with it about 2 days, it'll go off, everything except the check engine light, and then a day or two later it'll come right back on. It doesn't seem to have affected my braking in any kind of way. It's just that module obviously needs to be replaced, so I gotta check into that. As far as hauling containers go, the company that I'm with, business has picked up a little bit. I've had a couple of 5-day weeks, but other than that, it's been about 4 days a week. Of course, one of those was my fault. I had to take off work. But business does seem to be picking up a little bit, but they're adding a bunch of new stuff on us. They're going to paperless invoices and all this kind of stuff that we got to do. So I checked in with another company that supposedly is running every day. They even have Saturday loads. The downside is you have to go into the port. The upside is it's all drop and hook, and you run it right up to McDonough. You don't even have to go all the way into Atlanta. So you just take an empty box into the port in the morning from your house, drop it, pick up a loaded box, take it to McDonough, drop it, hook up to an empty box, and go home. So I've actually gone through the hiring process with this company, and they've green lighted me on everything. All I have to do, I have to get my TWIC card, which is the Transportation Workers Identification Card, that you have to go into the port. They do a federal background check and all this kind of stuff. And you have this card, and you have to have that to go into the port. So downside is you have to go into the port every day. You can be in the port for maybe an hour. I have a couple of friends that go into the port every day. They say usually it's no worse than an hour. So, but the upside is you don't have to wait to get unloaded. So you kind of make up that time with having to go into the port, but at the same time you don't have to go into Atlanta. It's the same run every day. They do have another customer that's up in Atlanta that pays a little more that you can run, but you can totally run it however you want. Supposedly, from what they tell me. So we'll see how that goes. You never know until you're actually doing it. We all know that people at these places will tell you what they need to get you in the door. So we'll see how it goes. And I've applied for my TWIC card. So now it's just, they say it could take like 2, maybe 3 weeks during the busy season. So we'll see how fast that goes. When I get that, I'll have to take my truck up to, this place is located in Atlanta. This trucking company that I'm going to is located in Atlanta, not Savannah. So I'll actually never go there except for once a month. I have to take my truck up for a walk around inspection. But other than that, you just do your thing every day. So once my TWIC card stuff comes back, then I'll take my truck up there for my inspection and go get my first load. Hopefully be on that gig. The money's a little bit better. Well, I say it's a little bit better. It's really better just because they're running every day, you know, apparently, supposedly. So as far as the truck goes, the truck is running. Knock on wood. The truck is running. It's doing good so far. Just, you know, little things every now and then. Like my dash doesn't look good. If you look at my dash, the check engine light is on, the ABS light is on, traction control light is on, and ABS module light is on. But it'll go off and then it'll come back on. So and engine wise though and everything, the truck's running good. I have 2 new steer tires. So they're looking good so far. So my next step is just to get the back shocks. That's 4 shocks, and get those put on. Those will be super easy. I did put the front ones in myself with no problem. So the back ones will be way easier. And we'll just see how that does. Keeping that shake out of the truck, but yeah, the shake has gotten substantially better. It's just like I said, sometimes when after I get unloaded and it goes from being really heavy on the back to being real light, I feel some shake coming from in the back, but it's no longer in the steering wheel, so that's good. I've been making it, been able to make my truck payments and all, and my paychecks have gotten a little better since we've been running 4 and 5 days instead of those. It had got down to 2 days, 3 days, so hopefully those days are behind us, and it doesn't really matter because I'm going to a different company anyway. So I'll keep you updated on that process, and we'll just see how everything goes. I'll still be home every night. I'll probably leave out about 5 in the morning, probably be home around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon with this new gig. So any questions, just ask, and we'll talk to y'all real soon.